Getting Strange, a Garth Marenghi's Darkplace rewatch podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kim.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but like the X-Files has news, and it has more news than we've had for like ages.
What the hell?
I know, it's so weird.
So you finally start having news when we've finished reviewing the X-Files.
Yeah.
Great. What you got?
Well, okay, so one of them was, there's an interview with David Duchovny about a series he's just done, which gets into a bit about the backstory of when he left the X-Files, like in the end of season 7.
Okay.
And just walking away from that commitment at like one of the, not exactly the height of its success, but it was still ruling very high. Not a lot of interesting details, there's nothing about the reboot or anything, but it's like he was feuding with Gillian Anderson at the time. And there's an interesting comment, which is one of those unrespected, it's very true, of the X-Files has hundreds of episodes, and it's got a great reputation for that. And then you've got Game of Thrones, which has like 60.
Okay, yeah.
And it's the difference in quantity is just astonishing these days of what has happened to TV since network TV in the 90s. But for the reboot, there's a very, very brief interview with Ryan Coogler. And most of this is about Sinners, but there is a thing about the X-Files in here, which is like confirmation he's still involved. It's still trundling along somewhere. But he's doing it because his mother was a big fan of it.
That's nice.
And even though we sort of reported on this last time, the rumours about Danielle Deadweiler is neither confirmed nor denied.
Okay.
So that's up in the air at the moment. But yeah, it does seem like Sinners took up all his time, and now Sinners is out, he can now actually start thinking about the X-Files properly.
Excellent.
So yeah, watch this space. It's not, we thought it was dead, but no, it's all things are rumbling behind the scenes.
I guess in other Garth Marenghi news, as we mentioned last time, Mr. Marenghi is currently doing a book tour to promote his upcoming novel, This Busted Earth, which is the third part of the Teratome trilogy.
Bursted Earth.
This Bursted Earth, sorry. I'm just mentioning it now again because new dates have recently been added. The tour is now going on till I think it's about March or April next year.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got your ticket yet, there's still time. Do have a look on garthmarenghi.co.uk, his website, and book your tickets now because we went recently. It's hysterical. And I'm really excited. This Busted Earth comes out Halloween, I think it is. So yeah, you still got time.
It was very crowded there. There was a lot of people, and I think it's like the usherette had never heard of him before, wasn't quite sure what they were going to do. So she was seemed to be quietly amused by the whole proceeding as well.
Yeah, but he's hilarious. It was really entertaining. And, you know, the book might be almost out by the time you're listening to this, to be fair, but it gave us a chance for the master himself to read out excerpts from his new novel. Yes. And it looks like it's going to be a doozy.
It does. I mean, I think we got a sampling of each story this time.
Yes, I think we did. So, like the other ones, it's 3 little novelettes in one.
Yeah, and there's a bit more of Garth Marenghi's backstory, it seems. Like, his wife and daughters... Well, his daughter's always figured into it. His wife has never really shown up before, and she's actually going to do something this time.
Yeah. Which
was quite amusing. Just... Well, I think we'll talk a bit more when we get to the actual episode, but there's that... I think we were talking about afterwards, it's the... His writing has this very specific thing where it's almost verging on being unnerving or scary or something, and then he'll puncture it in ways you wouldn't actually foresee.
Mm.
And I think I always go back to it's like the alien abduction. So as far as we know, this isn't really a spoiler because I think this is at the start of the story from what he was saying. Is Garth gets abducted by aliens, and this lasts half a chapter maybe before he's suddenly not being abducted by aliens anymore.
Mm.
And it's the slow build-up of it's kind of creepy being abducted by aliens in the first place, but then it's like the voice of the aliens is John Virgo. And for the American audience, if you don't know, this is almost equivalent to that thing in Jose Chung with Alex Trebek being one of the Men in Black. It's the least appropriate cast choice you can have.
John Virgo was one of the presenters of a game show that was all based around the game Snooker from the 90s, is basically what you need to know to understand that.
Called Big Break, and it's the alien talking with it, and you know, Matthew Holness doing a pretty good impersonation of John Virgo as well.
Mm.
That continuation of, okay, so the alien's talking in the wrong kind of voice that's not scary anymore, and while you've got the weird medical instruments, they've given you a consent form, and Garth is very, very hung up on getting his signature right on the touchscreen. It was delightful. We'll also say, though, we missed out on the Casa Rat press tour, but this one is substantially different to the Terror Tome original one.
Yes. There was... The Terror Tome one, when we went to that a few years ago, was more of a question and answer. He did a bit of reading, and then the second half was him responding to audience questions. And while doing so in character, he did so incredibly well, to be fair.
Yes.
I think he only broke it once.
He did, and from the article in The Guardian, they didn't break him on that one, but we were there when someone got him.
Yeah.
Like, we can't for the life of us remember what someone said to him to do it.
They just cracked him up, didn't they? This time, it's entirely in character. It is readings, but also punctuated with excerpts from his new burgeoning rock career.
Yes.
And I leave it at that. You need to see it, really.
That's an experience as well, yeah. Very similar to actually just watching Darkplace, but on stage, and he's right there, and he does autographs afterwards. And I'm pretty sure this time he did the autographs in character, whereas previously he broke character for them.
Oh, did he, when you spoke to him last time?
Yeah, last time he wasn't in character, this time he is.
Yeah. I've got to admit, I'm not very good at talking to celebrities. I have an infamousy for freezing up, but I did manage to speak to Garth Marenghi, and I said, "Hi, it's so nice to meet you," to which the response was, "Yes, it is nice to meet me," which just had me then. It's like, yeah, that's perfect.
This Burst of Earth, we'll read that at some point. I mean, we could actually stick the books on at the end of this, I suppose.
Yeah, we can do. It'd be nice to reread them, to be fair.
It would. And the other miscellaneous bits and pieces. We can't do the Edinburgh Fringe unless someone has a not legit recording of it, which is not impossible, but...
I haven't managed to find anything about it. No. I can't even find a summary.
Yeah, I know. So it was confusing as well. It's like, what was it, other than it's broadly similar, but it can't be exactly the same?
I do like the kind of Sutter Kane King in Yellow feel of no one will actually tell you what this thing is about, but it changed lives, apparently.
Yes. And just before we get to the episode, I was going to say, this past week I kept thinking I've forgotten 2 great examples of fake lost media.
Oh, okay. What we were talking about last time.
Yes, and one of them I read about just this morning, which was a good reminder. But which is odd, though, because they call it found footage, and my objection would be, I don't think it is, which is Late Night with the Devil.
It's not really found footage.
No, it is fake lost media. It's fake lost media. So, I mean, you could claim the black and white behind the scenes stuff is like found footage, but the rest of it is in a program that allegedly broadcast in the 70s.
Yeah, that's a great film.
It is good. I enjoyed that one. The other one, of course, less classy, but no less relevant, is Kung Fury, of course.
Oh, yes, of course, yes.
Which is a fake 80s action film.
That, again, is loads of fun. That's kind of in the same vein as your Dewberry Party Massacre 3.
It is. And I think it's even like a bad VHS copy of it as well, isn't it? But Kung Fury, I think, goes the rest of the way by being as over the top as it possibly can be, given that I don't think any 80s film could actually do what they did. They sort of went beyond what was possible.
It does have laser raptors.
I think it's on YouTube, and it's a wild ride, that one.
It's very well done.
But that's what I'm saying, though. There should be a genre term for these strange curios that aren't really found footage, but people like to claim it found footage.
Yeah. I guess found footage is about the closest equivalents you have.
Yeah, like found footage tends to just be pure horror, though, because it's the very Lovecraftian writing, is it? We found this unfinished document on the guy's desk and he's gone. I mean, Lovecraft pushed that a bit far. Like Dagon, I always remember being the fact he wrote out the window before throwing himself out the window. It's like the joke in Monty Python and Holy Grail of the castle of well, maybe he died while he was carving it. If he died while he was carving it, he wouldn't carve would he?
There's a great piece of media in game, and I think it's Silent Hill: The Room,
yes,
where a guy has written a diary entry while he sets himself on fire.
Yeah, it's like, I'm burning up, and the page is slightly burned. Yeah. He was still writing. Kind of undercut the horror of that game, didn't it? But anyway, we'll turn to our latest horrifying spectacle from the last 64, 63, however many episodes of this series that allegedly exists.
Totally was aired in Peru.
Totally aired. No, only some of it was aired in Peru. And this is Hell Hath Fury, same writer and director as before. First broadcast on the 5th of February 2004. So the major guest star of this one is Stephen Merchant, who, as far as I'm aware, is called Chef, because I don't think they give him any other name. And he does survive, which I'd forgotten. He is actually alive.
Did he?
They do say, they managed to save him.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
but
just
he doesn't show up again.
No, I don't think he comes back.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
But he's had a long and varied career, because he was in Hot Fuzz, which I'd forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
Run, Fat Boy, Run.
Yes, he is.
Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Moving swiftly on. Logan. I'd forgotten that one.
Yeah, he's Caliban.
He is. Jojo Rabbit.
Yes.
Okay, so the UK Office, which he also wrote and directed some episodes of, where he was, I can't remember who he was in the Office, but he's somewhere in the mix, isn't he?
He wrote it. Was he in it?
He was in it, apparently. He actually does have a few
I was just wondering if you were
guest spots.
getting mixed up with Mackenzie Crook.
No, he is actually in there. He was, of course, in Extras.
Yes, he was.
He didn't appear in it, but he wrote and directed some episodes of the US version of The Office.
Oh, I think I knew that, but I don't know which ones he did.
No, I didn't actually go through, because there's a lot of episodes.
Mm.
He's been on The Simpsons, of course. The Good Place, which I'd forgotten about.
Mm.
And then we get into 3 linked roles where he is indistinguishable, but he's the same voice, but in different games.
Okay.
So he's in Portal 2.
Yep.
He's in Team Fortress 2.
Yep.
As Wheatley.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he's in Lego Dimensions.
Also as Wheatley.
Also as Wheatley. I'm very impressed they got everyone back for Lego Dimensions. And
Yeah,
then...
until you said Portal, I'd forgotten he was Wheatley, but yeah, of course he is.
I'm still always impressed that Lego Dimensions, they got Jonathan Coulton in to write an entirely different song for the end credits just to keep the gag going. And that's very impressive. But anyway, would you like to tell us why Hell Hath Fury?
We open on another day in Darkplace Hospital, where Liz is showing Clive, our new intern, the ropes. They get caught up in a queue in the canteen where the chicken is not yet done, which is causing a lot of frayed nerves and aggression. As the already highly strung chef hears Liz complaining about this, he turns on her, knocking the tray out of her hands and berates her for causing all the problems in his life. This sparks something unseen and unknown within Liz, as suddenly it awakens her latent telekinetic powers, lifting up utensils and brutally attacking the helpless chef. The chaos kind of then spreads with reports of flying objects and dangerous equipment throughout the entire hospital. Leaving the oddly sullen Liz alone with Thornton, Sanchez and Douglas go to investigate. As they are looking around in the basement area, they encounter all manner of flying dangerous apparel, and slowly they realise that it has to be some kind of psychic event causing it. However, it is Thornton Reed that finally realises the danger he's in, as Liz turns on him within his office, pinning him against the wall with a desk, leaving him only access to his phone and an orderly outside to be able to relay the true danger to Douglas. As Sanchez is cornered in the basement by a lot of different dangerous equipment that even he cannot shoot his way out of, as his own gun turns against him, the temp and Douglas race back towards the wing where Thornton is working, with Douglas running ahead to the elevator to take the danger head on and spare the temp this horror. As Douglas reaches Reed's hallway, he comes face to face with Liz, now levitating and in full control of her powers. As the temp heroically appears and leaps in the way, taking deadly wound after deadly wound to protect Douglas, Douglas manages to use the diversion to knock Liz unconscious. Unfortunately, he's not in time to save the temp, who succumbs to his injuries within Douglas's arms. As the episode rounds up, we discover that Sanchez has lobotomized Liz in order to remove her latent psychic powers, and the team console Douglas, reassuring him that the temp's death was not his fault and bringing his spirits back up. At the end of the episode, Douglas realises that he could possibly treat Liz a little better, and resolves to say something nice about either her hair or her weight, whichever seems more likely.
Thank you.
I thought I'd give it the gravitas it deserved.
I would say, I think you've nicely illustrated why that borderline between comedy and horror is so narrow, where you just have to skew it a little bit for the episode to sound halfway plausible.
I feel the main bit is not mentioning exactly what the telekinetic objects are.
Yeah, I think that helps. And you bordered on it with the gun. I mean, there was the whole, his gun turns against him, so he shoots it with his other gun, which then turns against him as well. And the filing cabinets and the bins and the fire extinguisher.
The stapler.
The stapler, the iron. I had a realization watching this one through. You mentioned something as well, but I'll do my one first, was why is Darkplace set in a hospital, really?
Other than the obvious inspiration of the kingdom.
Other than that, but it's like, in terms of how Garth Marenghi came up with the series, is he hasn't written a hospital show. He's written a police procedural kind of Dirty Harry style plot.
Particularly Douglas himself is very Dirty Harry.
Well, and Thornton Reed is the police commissioner or the police chief, or who's going to, demand his badge and everything.
Yeah.
And this fact they're all armed and everything, it's like nothing about the episode actually says hospital. It's basically a police procedural clumsily pasted into a hospital setting.
Mm. And
it's like, what possession do you think this is a good idea? Because that also does kind of jive with a joke from this Burst of Earth, or the joke in the performance we went to, where he sort of said he was the first person to combine, I can't remember, is it horror and crime or crime and horror? Because he saw it as very different.
He's the first person to combine horror and crime. Crime and horror have been done before, but never horror and crime was his line.
Yeah, and his illustration of that is, I don't think I can even remotely do justice for the surreal experience of listening to the excerpt about horror and crime, which was just absolutely bewildering.
When you actually see that, I think it's going to be the first segment of the book. As I said, as of this release, the book isn't out yet. But it was something like The Bone Thief was its title, or something like that.
The Bone Taker or something?
The Bone Taker, maybe,
It's something like that.
But yeah, that's the first ever example of horror and crime done together.
So, but I mean, it's just like, I can imagine this must be a sort of running thing, and I can only imagine that's very intentional idea with Darkplace was, we're going to do very 80s cliche police stuff, but it's in a hospital for no good reason.
Mm.
It explains a whole load of stuff falls into place if you think of it as a police procedural, but it's not.
You've also got, and I caught it this time, is Douglas specifically is a GP.
Yes.
So a general practitioner. He's just your bog standard doctor you'd visit if you felt a bit unwell in the UK. So he's not like a surgeon or any specialist. It's no disrespect to people who are GPs. I know the amount of training that goes. But usually in these things, he's like House.
You want House.
You want House. House is like a diagnostic expert or something, isn't he?
House has that weird thing where he basically has come up with his own job role because no one else does what he does. I mean, it's one of the things that when he fires everyone else struggles to fit into a team like House's because no one else does things how he does it.
Or even on Scrubs, a lot of the focus is on surgeons and stuff like that.
Well, Scrubs seem to be the dichotomy between the doctors as like GP kind of doctors and the surgeons as like jocks.
Yeah.
That seemed to be how Scrubs was doing it.
Or even, a general GP studio isn't normally dramatic enough for a TV show. So you might have, like, House does occasionally does the GP bits, but it's like the comedy B plot of the episode. Whereas you've got the person who's flatlining as your A plot.
Well, you're right, because it's like you get stories about brain surgeons or something. It's like it's got to be high stakes in life and death kind of thing. Otherwise, what's the point?
But you have ones like House, like the one that I remember that cracked me up is the pregnant woman, and when he asks her what kind of jelly she uses, she says, "Oh, grape."
Yes, contraceptive jelly.
Yeah, meaning contraceptive jelly, of course. But it's things like that. It's the comedic, low stakes, little daft thing. But that's the kind of doctor apparently Rick Douglas is.
Yes.
Despite his kind of rough, rebellious persona he's got.
His lofty aspirations.
Yeah. Indeed, there was a comment in there at the start of this one I liked where he talked about rebels or innovators.
Yes.
That was one of my favourite lines in the whole episode.
I was going to say as well, the intro has one of my favourite bits it's all parcel of the whole thing of it. It's the drunk on his own stature kind of thing. And him sort of saying about how, Darkplace could have been a map to the future or a path forward for humanity. And you hear people say this in other things, and usually it doesn't make a lot of sense anyway, but Darkplace is especially, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But I'm trying to remember exactly how the line goes, but it's like he says there are two kind of writers, rebels and innovators. And he goes down a line saying, I'm a rebel, I do this, I do that, I do that. And if that isn't an innovator, I don't know what is. It's brilliant. Yeah.
He is kind of an amazing sort of weirdo.
Yeah.
You made a good comment, and I think I was going to bring it up last time, and we kind of got sidetracked on something else. You said it was like the kind of video you made when you were a child.
Oh yeah, did you do that when you were a kid? Where you tried to make your own like budget horror movies and stuff?
Yeah. We had the nylon string to sort of suspend things out and everything. But I was thinking about it before, and it was I think what Darkplace does very cleverly is it's a level above what you'd be able to do as a child. Because I don't know if you ever... You said you try to make your own films on video cameras.
Oh yeah, we made our low-budget horror movie about a box of Kellogg's cornflakes, the vegetarian alternate cereal that went insane and tried to kill people.
Yeah.
Literally the cereal box trying to kill people because we were kids and that made sense.
So, and when me and my brothers made a whole thing about a killer sock.
That's very on par with this episode.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, though, it's in retrospect of when I was younger, it's the case, one thing I don't know how, that sort of, if everyone else experiences this, but editing is not something you're quite prepared to do as a child. You want to just get it on screen, mostly.
So you just film everything in order and stuff like that, yeah.
And even if you have to do multiple takes and everything, you can't do anything about that part of the footage. That's just kind of stuck in place.
Mm.
And of course, there were ways of doing this. I mean, this is going to sound alien to some people because these days, editing software will do a lot of this stuff for you. We're talking about the times when you had VHS tapes and VHS cameras. And if you wanted to edit it, you needed to record it from the video camera onto a VCR or something, and had to start footage to get things into the right place.
I guess listeners might not have even seen the old video cameras where we literally had a VHS tape.
Yeah, so we're talking...
inside the camera. It was a huge thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are big, bulky things. Editing it was very hard if you didn't have the right equipment. Any kind of special effects was basically outside your remit unless you had some very specific and pricey technology.
Mm.
And overdubbing music or any kind of sound mixes, this was beyond your scope. These days, I figure given the fact that people have made entire films on your phone, this isn't a problem anymore. This is something that you can easily achieve without a lot of effort. But we're talking late 80s, early 90s. There was a hard limit on what you could do with technology. Darkplace captures that very well. It's clearly got more money than any kind of amateur child production would have, but not a lot more, because there's a lot of goofs and mistakes in there that a better run or higher budget production would catch. It's like Thornton Reed's bad line reads, or the ones where they've had to cut two very different takes together to get rid of him looking off screen.
I love the continuity errors as well. Like, there's one when Liz keeps dropping her tray early in it. Sometimes it has a banana on it when she picks it up, sometimes it doesn't. And, even when she drops it, things like the knife and fork are still facing upwards on the tray when it's on the ground. Yeah.
I think it's well done because it's like it's a prop that you would have because you don't want to risk the knives and forks falling off while you're doing multiple takes and everything.
Mm.
But as you said, they're not using it right because they've got they've presumably filmed over multiple days, so they've got weird things have crept in and no one is paying attention to that.
Yeah, there are some reoccurring ones it does well. It's things like Thornton Reed's cigar often disappears between shots.
Yes, he just has it sometimes, doesn't he, when he's
sometimes
in action
it's
scenes.
in his mouth in action scenes, and then the angle will change and it'll be missing, and then it'll be back again. It's those clever things that, in a serious thing, you'd have people on the internet in outrage picking faults at this, saying, I found all these continuity errors and anachronisms and stuff like that. But it's such a clever idea to deliberately put them in there.
Yeah. Stephen Merchant almost steals the episode, I feel.
Despite only being in one scene.
It's that proliferation of son of a bitch every time.
My favourite bit is when he gets stabbed and the screen goes black and then there's just a pause and son of a bitch.
I'm also like, it's the weird things like he's notoriously tall anyway, but the fact he's too tall for the set.
And they've also got him in a big tall chef's hat as well.
But he has to duck right under the door frames. The plausibility of the original plot as well, though, where it's taking them ages to cook this chicken, is like, what is he doing back there?
Yeah. It's going to be another 5 to 10 minutes.
It's like, what? One thing we were going to talk about, though, was the obvious inspirations for this one.
Yeah, not all of the episodes do have an obvious inspiration,
No.
but this one does.
Yeah, we can't really get away from the obvious one, which is...
a certain novel that was written in 1974 by an author you may have heard of.
Gus Marenghi.
Yeah, that'll be the one.
Wait.
No, it's Stephen King's Carrie.
Yes.
And, both the novel and the later movie of the same name.
Yeah. And I've just realised I wouldn't put it past them to actually have taken some inspiration from Matilda, because it's not a million miles away from Matilda either.
No, Matilda Wormwood can also levitate things with her mind.
She can. I was trying to think of other things where you have possessed objects, but again, I suppose it's not really possessed objects, it is just telekinesis in this.
Yeah, when I think possessed objects, I'm thinking kind of like Tsukumogami, your Japanese yokai.
Yeah.
Your, what do you call it? Obaka Karakasi, your living Umbrella and things like that.
It's lived for 1,000 years and now is sentient.
Yeah.
100 years.
It's 100 years, yeah. But you get a load of Japanese yokai that kind of fall into that category, and they're kind of adorable from a Western perspective. I love the Umbrella in particular.
But in Darkplace universe, we've very taken a page out of Carrie. I mean, to their credit, this was set up in episode 1 because Liz was kind of psychic when she arrived and had her visions.
And as Garth Marenghi tells us, somebody's latent psychic powers can awaken at any time.
Yes. That's why he has to have a foundation for people with psychic powers, which apparently he did in real life, which is one of the weird, flippant, throwaway comments.
I also like, for your bad 70s writing, it's the treatment of the one female character as well.
80s writing,
80s writing, but yeah. But because
the abysmal.
It's only a step away from what we did see, to be honest, where she has a womanly tantrum where it's heavily indicated it's because it might be her time of the month, which throws her into a violent rage that actually kills at least one person.
2. She took out 2 people.
She took out 2 people, did she?
Wait, the chef is alive, yeah. Sorry.
The chef's still alive. She only kills one person.
She kills a temp, yeah.
Which we completely brush over at the end of the episode. But it winds up with her not only being lobotomized to stop it happening again, and her being absolutely okay with this, but her being kind of gleefully apologetic and then making a sexual joke about her at the end with her buns.
Yes.
When she's baked some buns and she turns around to bend over to get them, saying, "Buns?" At which point everyone gives a knowing kind of winky nod at her backside.
Yeah, and it's curious that, people would be twitchy about it if you tried it these days, but it's one of those, you kind of have to embrace warts and all thing because you're trying to be the 80s, and this would have flown in the 80s.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a comment that someone made about Stranger Things, of all things, is that Stranger Things is kind of a sanitized version of the 80s. Oh, it's the 80s as we want to remember it. It's not really accurate to the 80s. And the highlight thing was, there's no casual racism. It's very carefully not racist.
That's true, I guess.
And it's the 80s were not that progressive.
Well, you often see it even when you look back at old Stephen King stories, as there is a lot of homophobia, racism, sexism, because there was at the time.
Yeah, and Stranger Things as well, it's that revelation about Steve's co-worker. Is it Robin?
Robin, yes.
No. Him being completely accepting of her being a lesbian. And it's that, I mean, to be honest, it was a lovely moment watching the series, but it's in real life 80s, how he would have reacted to that is really not, you couldn't depend on that.
Yeah, that's true. But it was largely a complaint when I was growing up that there were no shows aimed at particularly little girls, because it's much like the belief these days that you still hear banded around of girls don't play video games.
Yes.
It was no, girls like Care Bears and Barbie, girls don't want an action series, so therefore the girls in action series, which were marketed as men, were just there for eye candy.
Yes. And I've always found this fascinating because I think there's some people are open about it, or at least we can do the comparison to Nancy Drew of all things. Because we, while we were on holiday, we watched Grimbridge review of the first 3 Nancy Drew games.
Oh yeah, that was excellent.
Wasn't it just? But one of the things I took away from that was that the original author of Nancy Drew was a man. And he was, in his 60s, 70s, he was a distance from the teen market.
I believe he wrote under a female pen name.
He did, but he was substantially old. And then it took until his death for his daughter, who was also like in her 50s, to take over. And you're writing teen fiction, and you're this distant from your teen protagonist. But it made me think as well, though, because there's a comment somewhere about why the whole boys and girls things happened. And it's purely so that you can sell twice as many toys, because you can't just buy one toy and hand it down. You've got to buy one toy for the boy, one toy for the girl.
It kind of happened earlier than that, though, because you're looking back in history, it's things like the novel was originally seen as low art.
That's true.
It was designed as something for women, but when it increased in popularity, men suddenly seized it as their own thing, and then suddenly it wasn't for women anymore. It was for educated men, and it was too intellectual for women. And you see that a lot going through history. It's even things like the original Star Trek fans were predominantly female.
Yep.
It didn't originally be a man's thing.
Yeah, the male geeky thing.
Yeah.
I've got, there's one of the greatest ones I always like bringing up, that always is kind of mind-blowing when you reflect on it, is the Beatles. Like, Beatlemania was primarily female. But Beatles fans these days, you would think of a man, wouldn't you? It's that highbrow, appreciate the music thing, isn't it?
In a modern time, you've got the example of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic as well.
Which forces
was
that the other direction.
aimed at little kids, but its fan-based game predominantly adult men.
You know Jenny Nicholson, who did the Star Wars Hotel and the Evermore video?
Oh, the review of the Star Wars Hotel. Yeah. Yes, I remember that one.
So she had the video about the last BronyCon.
Okay.
And one of the comments she makes, because she's, sort of did it as a perspective of a fan, but she's also not above sort of saying, yeah, this is sketchy stuff going on here as well. Is one of her points was that it would be lovely to say that these adult men have embraced a cartoon series for little girls like this. But that's not how it works, is it? Because what happened was that the studio started feeding into the adult fans, and the direction the adult fans took it in meant people couldn't Google things safely anymore.
There is an absolutely great Bob's Burgers episode set at a BronyCon where they make a comment when Tina wants to go there about something like it being no place for a teenage girl.
Yeah. But one thing I couldn't never get away from is, especially in the 80s, when you have, you had the licensed tap for boys, Transformers, He-Man, which incidentally was entirely conceived to sell a plastic model that wasn't selling of a cat. Which is one of those most boring things of Battle Cat is why He-Man exists, because they couldn't get rid of the stock.
Poor Cringer.
But that's why he looks like that in the toy form. But, you had Transformers, G.I. Joe, and He-Man or whatever on that side, and you had My Little Pony, Rainbow Bright,
Care Bears,
whatever else on the girl side.
I like whatever else as a guy you can't even name.
Well, again,
medium.
It's that I will fully admit that I was growing up in the 80s, it was very much a whole, you don't watch that stuff because it's for girls.
I don't know, have you seen the Care Bears movie? It's terrifying.
I have seen the Care Bears movie. I saw the Care Bears movie because my aunt at one point decided to send us a pirated videotape of children's TV programs for whatever reason. But in her infinite wisdom, they were all stuff that her daughter would have watched. So we got Rainbow Bright, we got the Care Bears, and we got all this other stuff that we weren't particularly interested in. But I did watch all this stuff.
Yeah.
Just for this one. But I'm not as familiar with the female half of it, like She-Ra as well. Okay, we go for She-Ra. The old She-Ra.
Oh, yes, we found that when we were watching the new She-Ra's, there were references you didn't get, and I was just like, oh, yeah, I remember this. Yeah. Because, of course, this was aimed at girls in the 90s. Yeah.
But it's like, She-Ra's a good example, then, of, at the time, the person running She-Ra was the same guy who ran He-Man. His daughter voiced She-Ra, who was an out-and-out lesbian, which is a real progressive thing in it.
Yeah.
But it's behind the scenes, you get this whole thing of, this is what girls want. It's being dictated by men, which freaks me the hell out, because it's not like you put women in charge of the stuff for girls, it's the same people who are in charge of the stuff for boys.
To loop it back to Garth Marenghi a little bit, you've got kind of what we saw satirised in the Barbie movie.
Yes.
Where you've got Garth Marenghi here, who is a chauvinistic arsehole, telling us what women are like and how women will behave, and as represented in the female character he's written, Liz, who just agrees with everything he says and agrees that she's being irrational and all the rest of it. But you kind of had that with Will Ferrell's character in Barbie as well, who was the man who was in control of the Barbie IP, who had no idea of what girls actually liked.
But they won't make a joke at themselves, like, who better to design things for teenage girls than a whole boardroom of men?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, good, yep, you've got the point. This is absolutely messed up. Why are we operating like this? I do understand why. It's because everything is inherently sexist.
So in the case of Darkplace, it's one of those things where you feel like you should be offended by it, but you're not because it's all played as a joke.
Yes.
You're not supposed to agree with Garth. You're supposed to be something thinking, oh dear God.
But then, as I said, though, it's a accurate reflection of the 80s TV in a way that Stranger Things isn't.
Yeah. Well, it's slightly exaggerated, but
it's slightly exaggerated, but
you can feel it in there.
You can actually buy that someone made this with the best intentions in the 80s and went wrong.
Well, think of the basis of, in the Marvel Comics, when Sue Storm went evil.
Oh, yes.
Because of womanly reasons. You've got that kind of basis for it. In fact, it's very similar to that.
I imagine that was one of the inspirations for it. I mean, this does tie back. We'll run it back around to Carrie again. Of course, what leads Carrie to becoming a force of psychic vengeance is her time of the month happening unexpectedly in the showers.
Well, there's more to it.
There's more to it, but that's I'm only going from the film, though, because that's the key starting point.
It is the opening scene of the story, is the plug it up scene. But it's also kind of shows, through the basis of that, you get to learn about her repressive upbringing And the fact that she's being brutally bullied by all but 2 people in the school.
Yeah.
So for Carrie, it's the escalation, which we don't get in this episode because, unlike Carrie, Liz's psychotic break happens within the first 2 minutes of the episode. Whereas Carrie, you have like over an hour of this gradually building up before the pig's blood scene and her murdering the shit out of everybody quite justifiably.
Yes. But then again, we've sort of fallen into that same trap again, because both cases we've got Brian De Palma on one hand and Stephen King on the other, who last time I checked, I think they identify as men still.
And Stephen King notoriously, especially if you read his older novels, is terrible at writing women.
Yes, I mean we can bring up and brush across very quickly that it has a very famous scene that's not in any of the films.
Yeah, there are awful, awful sequences that you can find easily by searching on things like the Men Writing Women Reddit, where Stephen King describes like a 12-year-old's breasts and things like that. They are absolutely atrociously written when it comes to the female characters. The thing that male authors, particularly in that time frame, didn't get is, it's just change the pronouns, dude. Yeah. And you've got it. There you are, you're writing a female character now.
We mentioned Shiro was written by a man, or controlled by a man, and created by a man. And you flash forward to Netflix's current one, and Indy Stevens might be non-binary now, but at the time, they were a female when they were doing Shiro.
Oh, Shiro's writer, yeah.
You've now got someone who presumably understands the power fantasy for Shiro in a way that the guy in the 80s didn't.
Oh, Shiro Princess of Power, I recently watched the entire thing for the first time. It's excellent. It's so well written. Yeah.
We've got Indy Stevens' thank for that, because they actually do understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
Why everything has to be like this.
Carrie's great, to be fair. It's probably one of the best Stephen King adaptations, that film.
Yeah,
Less to be said about Carrie 2 The Rage. But the original Carrie... Oh, God, I forgot there was a remake.
But yes, Carrie is a fantastic film and very influential on this mess.
To be fair, it was massively influential on the whole horror genre. You know, it was a best-selling novel. It was Stephen King's entry novel, essentially.
Yes, it's why everyone sat up and took notice. We didn't talk about the slow motion, though, which was one of those startling revelations I love about Darkplace.
I didn't really notice it till they said it either, but yeah.
It's like, the episode's running up to 8 minutes under, and the only way to pad them out was slow motion. And it's like
they tried to avoid doing it during any dialogue though. But you don't realise till they've said it how much the episode is in slow motion. The other thing I enjoyed about the episode was the temp.
Yes, the good actor they had.
Yeah, but it was also things like the spliced in footage of him where it's just his head.
Yeah, and they've had to composite other dialogue scenes. There's very obvious audio gaps and everything.
Yeah, but also the fact that for most of the episode he wears a red shirt.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
He's got kind of like this orangey red vest on, which he only takes off right at the end when he's wearing the obvious kind of Kevlar vest when they're throwing screwdrivers at him.
I do like the... I think I meant to mention this last time as well, but the amateur script writing nature of it all, which is I mean, I'm not going to impugn anyone's early career or anything, but I think it's something that everyone finds themselves doing is over-explaining things at first. There's so much in the dialogue that doesn't need to be there.
You mean like the Temp's death scene?
Yeah, it's like you don't need to explain what Bermuda is. What are you doing?
It's like Clive's an odd name for an American. Oh, actually, I'm from Bermuda. British owned. Actually, it's not. They just have this lengthy exposition sequence about the politics of Bermuda as Clive is lying there dying.
I mean, it's not to be not all kind of pretentious and everything, but it's like you contrast that then to Blade Runner. That Roy Batty was meant to get a very long, drawn-out death speech, and Rutger Hauer on set said, he's not going to say all this.
Is that why we got Tears in Rain?
He improvised Tears in Rain, and he wrote that himself, and that's why he said it. And it's however many lines it is, but it's like perfect for the situation, and whatever he was going to say would not have worked.
It's also exceptionally beautiful and exceptionally memorable, that sequence, so he got that spot on.
Well, yeah, it's evocative in a way that makes you're curious about what the Tannhauser Gate is.
All those moments are lost in time like tears in rain.
But again, we've got another 80s production where it's like they understood what they were doing and Garth does not. Again, it's like a bit at the start, though, with the alien abduction from this Burst of Earth, is you've got a little excerpt at the start of this one, and I can't remember which novel it is.
Does he ever tell you what novel they are?
I don't think he does. I think if you look at the covers, you can pick up which one it is meant to be.
This one's the maggots one.
This one's the maggots, and it's the Garth apparently believes that repetition is the key to horrifying you. So the more times you say blood or maggot, the worse it gets.
I also liked. I think there was a page turn in this one where maggots, maggots, maggots. You hear the rustling.
Yeah,
maggots.
But then it's the twin de-horrifying thing of his hands fell off.
Yeah.
Which is just, yep. But then it's all over the floor of the post office. And it's like, you can't, again, it's like you can't have horror in a canteen. You can't have horror in a post office.
1 second, I think I should just do that full quote just so people have it. Mike stared in disbelief as his hands fell off. From them rose millions of tiny maggots. Maggots, 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 maggots. All over the floor of the post office in Leytonstone.
I do think this is a peculiarity quirk to England. Is you can't. There are certain, as we said last time, there's certain places you can't have horror, but there's also village names you can't have horror in. Like Romford, you can't have horror, and that one that doesn't work for horror, does it? It's the wrong. Something about it reads wrong to you.
I guess there are place names that lend themselves to horror, like say the Wicker Man is set in Summerisle.
Yes,
and you've got that mishmash of it sounding like a really pleasant place and human sacrifices.
Yeah.
The two
sun
kind
worship
of collide.
well.
Yeah, the sun worshippers and all the rest, but the fact that it leads to human sacrifice, you've got that juxtaposition that you can't get with Leytonstone.
Yes, I mean, we can also jump to like the IT crowd is with Hull.
That's right, we're going to Hull.
But,
I say that a bit too much.
I think that was the restaurant Paris in Hull, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember how the joke worked exactly, but he led someone to believe they were going to Paris, and that's right, Paris, the new Italian restaurant in Hull, or something like that. I
imagine if you were good enough writer, you could do it, because I'm pretty sure that when Stephen King started off, small town in Maine did not induce a sensation of horror in you either.
But a lot of his towns still do have evocative names, like Castle Rock.
Yes. Derry less so, because that's the same as the name of a place in Ireland.
I suppose so, yeah.
But Derry works perfectly well for it. There's I've got no quibble there. But then it seems like you've got things like The Stand, which takes place at least partially in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Which also, that has the right kind of, well, abandoned Las Vegas, but you can't have it in like, I suppose even downtown normal Vegas. I think it's got to be the history of the places have something to it. Like you can appreciate something seedy happening in Vegas, like away from the lights and the strip and everything. That works. Because like mobster stuff happens in and around Vegas.
But we mentioned Robert Rankin, the English comedy horror writer, last time, I think. Keynes. Yeah, he uses Milton Keynes and Brentford and places like that a lot, which do not have that same evocation.
Yeah, but then it's interesting that America has, well, okay, maybe like 200 years edge on Milton Keynes, but it's not a bigger gap as other places. It's not like Edinburgh and London, which are properly old settlements.
But then again, London has that history, and London has a very dark history.
Yes.
So you could imagine something scary happening in London, which you can't necessarily in Milton Keynes.
No. Then I was going to say, I think there are obviously ways around it, and I think a lot of it has to come down to the name itself again, because it's like Silent Hill is not, well, it's kind of a spooky name in and of itself, but most of the horror of Silent Hill is like even older stuff than what's there at the moment. It's like there's always been something in that area.
Yeah.
It's little English countryside places you just can't make feel right for a horror setting.
The Cottage.
They never tell you the name of the place, though, do they?
I don't think they do, to be fair.
I think they're very ambiguous.
Again, it is rural England it's set in.
Yeah, but then again, well, one thing about the Cottage, because let's do a tangent on the Cottage, because it's an interesting example, isn't it?
The main characters, I believe, are Andy Serkis and Reece Shearsmith.
Yes. And the trick to the Cottage is the same trick that Dusk Till Dawn is meant to have. And in both cases, everyone just blows the surprise for both films when they're trying to advertise it.
The poster certainly ruined it for The Cottage.
Yeah, because the point with both films is they're genre shifters.
The Cottage is a kidnapping to begin with.
Yeah.
Two thugs kidnapping a rival boss's daughter or something.
Well, it's their own boss's daughter.
Their own boss's daughter, that's it, yeah.
Well, I think even From Dusk Till Dawn is also kind of crime, because they're on the run from the law trying to get to Mexico for safe passage and everything. But in both of them, it's meant to be a straight crime thriller thing until you get to a certain point. And in The Cottage, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family live down the road, apparently.
In my head, I think of them as being the cabin in the wood, the Bruckners.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's our murder zombie redneck family.
Yeah, not just zombies. And in From Dusk Till Dawn, surely you know by now, it's vampires. The bar they've gone to, which is open from dusk till dawn, is full of vampires. It's odd that everyone just decided to ruin the spice. I mean, I understand this is how Abigail was advertised, and you mostly didn't know what was going to happen.
I had no idea what was going to happen in Abigail. It was great.
And yet, the build-up is the whole, you've got to sit down and watch this, what looks like a crime film again, until you hit the horror section.
Yeah.
It's still baffling me that I do understand. I appreciate to a point that you want to get the horror crowd in here, because if you said this is a film about kidnapping a little girl, they're going to say, I'm not interested.
And also, a lot of people who like crime thrillers who might not like gore would pile in there and get the wrong movie.
So I understand it's difficult, but at the same time, it's designed that you don't know this coming, and it's more effective if you don't know it's going to come.
I just mentioned Cabin in the Woods, actually. That's how that was sold to me, because I went into that not knowing what it was about either. Because someone said, it's great, you'll really love it. I said, what's it about? He said, I'm not going to tell you.
A lot of people did say that. To their credit, a lot of people for Cabin in the Woods said, we're not telling you.
I took my dad to see it, in fact, and he absolutely loved it as well, even though it wasn't his kind of thing. But yeah, we were both sat there for about the first 20 minutes kind of going, uh-huh.
What film are we watching?
What the hell is going on? But yeah, it was a film that worked best with us going in knowing nothing about it.
True. I would say Cabin in the Woods has one trick that's different to the other two, though. Is it is set up like your typical teen slasher film. Because it is a group of friends get in a camper van, go to a cabin in the woods.
A very remote, isolated one. They even meet the Harbinger en route.
Exactly. And despite the fact you've got the meta-commentary going on, because the twist isn't the fact that there's zombies there, the twist is actually quite a bit later on when how everything works is revealed.
Yeah.
But it's still set up as a teen horror film, because like, you could transplant it into Texas Chainsaw Massacre without needing to change much.
Yeah, true.
It fits in very nicely. So I think Cabin in the Woods is a slightly different instance, but it is one of the same kind of thing. How did we even get onto the cottage?
We were talking about how British countryside is not scary.
That's true.
Your claim.
Yeah. I wouldn't say the British countryside isn't
It does
scary.
not lend itself to horror, were your words.
Yeah, but it's like a quaint little town like Leiston.
It's a different kind of horror.
Yeah.
The kind of horror we have colloquially in Britain is folk horror.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really lend itself to America that well, because it's not old enough.
Well,
to be honest.
I'll point you to the remake of The Wicker Man, why this doesn't work. It just falls apart.
So folk horror, what you're thinking of are things... Oh, The Witch. The Witch is the best American example I can think of.
That's it.
That's what you're looking at. It's very small town, very isolated, very rooted in tradition, and usually horrible, horrible traditions.
Yeah.
So our prime example in the UK is The Wicker Man. The likes of Midsommar is a folk horror, although that's set in Scandinavia. You've got The Witch, which is set in New England.
Yep.
That is how our British horror traditionally kind of worked. And usually in Brit horror, unlike American ones, there are no survivors.
Yes.
It's grim, it's dark, and it sticks with you.
But also, I don't think it involves many post offices, which I think is the other key part there.
No.
You could probably make that claim for Leiston. But then again, he's doing body horror, and body horror is the wrong horror type. I think that might be it then. The horror type he's writing doesn't work for the setting.
No.
If he was doing folk horror, like if it was Kill List happening outside, that would work.
Oh, Kill List is a good example of English folk horror. That's the tone as well.
I suppose Kill List is also a twist one, though, because it's that set up as a crime thriller, and you very late on you start finding out that they want him to kill these people for very specific
always
reasons.
Something off in Kill
There
List.
Is, but
the fact that
they always smile and thank him.
They always thank him.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't seen Kill List, I won't spoil the ending, but essentially he's an assassin, he's given 3 targets. Because he's an assassin, he's not told why he's killing them.
He doesn't care either.
And he doesn't care. But you very rapidly realise that something's wrong because all these people seem to be grateful to die.
Yeah. And
it just builds from there, and it's an absolutely fantastic folk horror film, but it's dark as dark can be.
But it's the odd thing, though, where saying it's a folk horror film does kind of give away parts of the twist, because there's no indication up front you're going to get that.
No.
If it's not clear, we actually do really appreciate these films. It's a shame that I don't think I've ever come into one not knowing what the twist is going to be every single time.
I didn't know Abigail. Abigail was great.
I know.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm glad we picked Garth Marenghi, because it's a good hopping off place to talk about all the other things I like.
As you said up front, we'll admit this, is that you weren't sure how you're going to even do Garth Marenghi as a concept. And I did say it's going to jump off into what inspired it and what surrounds it more than itself, because it's explaining a joke. You don't explain the joke around
Garth Marenghi is an absolute delight for a horror fan, just because you see it as being the kind of taking those horror tropes to the ridiculous conclusion.
Yes. And as I said at the start, it's the border between horror and comedy is narrower than you think it is. It is really easy to tip it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Do you have much else for Hell Hath Fury?
I just still love that title. It's what you do when you think you're being really clever.
Well,
changing the Hell Hath No Fury like a woman scorned.
Well, it's much like, and this is another bit excerpt we got from the Garth Marenghi evening, was his wife speaking in Latin.
It sounded like Latin. No, that wasn't right. It was medieval Latin. But not that either. It was medieval, backwards, upside down Latin. The devil's Latin. Which, interestingly, we watched the new VHS the other day and does have a bit with upside down Latin in it. And
it does, yes.
That ruined that sketch for us after that.
And that was one of the more effectively horror ones.
Well, it was by the guy who wrote Wreck.
Yeah, that was actually quite good. I would say as well, because I can confirm that one as well, though, is VHS Halloween is... no, probably that one's just found footage again. Because I was thinking it's the one with Ratner.
Hail Ratner.
Hail Ratner. That one is very specifically, that is fake lost media, given that's a news broadcast from the 80s.
You also have a bit, the one with the game show that's name is escaping me.
Oh, yeah.
Ozzy's Dungeon.
Yes, that's also fake lost media. In our proto-genre, which it's fake lost media is all I can think of to call it, but people don't seem to actually categorise it like that. So if you haven't got us for Hell Hath Fury...
No, I think I'm done.
So next time, we had, I would say an infamous episode, but they're all kind of infamous, and they're all kind of just strange anyway. Skipper the Eye Child, finally.
Well, at least no one gets lobotomized in the next episode of Darkplace, but at the same time something even worse happens, so...
But anyway, if you'd like to get hold of us, our email address is thingsagainstrange42@gmail.com.
You can also find us on social media, and please do hook me up if you have anything, well, let's just say at the moment, horror-related you would like me to present at the start of this show. Anyway, our social medias, on Tumblr and Blue Sky, we are at GetStrange42, or on Facebook, you can find us by searching for Things Are Getting Strange and X-Files Rewatch Podcast. Additionally, if you're not sick of my voice right now, I have a stream live on Twitch TV. It's AdversCamber42, and it's Mondays and Wednesdays at 8pm GMT and Saturdays at 5pm GMT. At the moment, I'm playing Lies of P Overture and Killer Frequency, both on PlayStation 5.
Our theme music is Vision by Kevin MacLeod. You can find it on the Computech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, please remember, Hail Ratner!